So, listening to you, Liborous, there's a fine line between the law and medical aspect with the DNA test when court orders for them to decide cases. How does the law support biological medicine to achieve balanced results, if I may ask?
What basically the law looks at is the issue of the law is blind. Our law is blind to scientific proof of paternity.
Okay.
The law still believes strongly in the institution of marriage, and they also presume that the couples were faithful to their marital vow.
Okay.
And some tradition also, like in some areas in Igbo land, you cannot be said to be a father of a child, even if you biologically father that child, if you have not paid the bride price of the mother. It is the man that paid the bride price of the mother that is said to be the biological father of that child, even if it is another man, obviously, that fathered the child. And so it is that idea that our law still, leaned, strongly in favor of, marriage, the institution of marriage. And that's why even in divorce cases, the law leans strongly in favor of the children. And that's why in a divorce case where children are involved, you will have to also make strong arrangement for the children. And that's why even in some states in America, a situation where a man, knowing fully well that he's not the father of a child, married the mother and then now brought up that child as his own. And then when he had a quarrel with the father, with the mother, and he filed for divorce and tend to de-establish paternity, not wanting to be responsible for his upkeep. The court said, no, you cannot elect when to be a father and when not to be a father. And so it is against all of these backdrop that our law still looks strongly in favor of, the decision of marriage and not, as to the issue of paternity and not to use science to establish paternity. And like the law says, it will also, to some extent, infringe on the fundamental right to privacy of the person's concerned. And that's why the doctor said, there must be consent for you to actually carry out paternity testing.
All right. Many thanks for that, because I'm actually going to touch on the angle of the divorce aspect of what you've just shared now. But it's important for me to ask that under the Nigerian law, is there any liable punishment, so to speak, for paternity fraud? And if yes, what are they?
No, there are none. Even before now, okay, let me give if before now, there's what we call bigamy.
Yes.
If a man, you are married under the law and then you go to marry another woman under the law, you are liable for an offense. Okay. And then Lagos State government, looked under Fashola, says since that law had been enacted, no woman had come to report that the husband is legally married and they married another woman. So what they just did was to expunge that law.
Okay.
And so in the same way, here there is no known offense to say, oh, look, I'm not the father of this child. The mother had the child, or that we were married and the mother went out, to meet somebody else and then just put the child on me. And the law is basically looking at it from that point of view, because also you can adopt a child. The law allows, even these days in Lagos, the rate of adoption is very high. It's growing. People now, and that's why as far back as 8 years ago, the laws governing adoption in Nigeria, in Lagos especially now, are very strict, because they discovered a lot of people were adopting, most especially people who have been unable to biologically have children. Okay. So when law encourages adoption, why do you think the law will now want to punish, somebody for committing what you call paternity fraud, quote and unquote? So that's why there is no known offense, when there is a paternity fraud, especially also when in other societies, when there is a divorce, the woman usually have the upper hand. But here, in divorce cases, the woman suffers more.
All right. So touching on that, Liborous, I know that divorce is an area that triggers paternity issues.
Yeah,
And divorce in some cases raises doubts in the mind of some men who tries to be cunning. Deliberately, I'm using that word.
Yeah.
So as a divorcee, let me speak for myself, in a similar scenario where integrity, of the woman is questioned, so to speak, I can't help but should women be bold to ask for paternity tests in cases like this, because I know that, I don't know if I should share this, which we were talking behind the before we came into the studio. But however, I need to ask that what should be a woman's take in a situation like this that is requesting from the partner to do paternity tests, just to make sure that everything is clear in the hair.
Yeah, in some cases, some women are actually pushed to the wall to insist on, a situation where the man wants to be cunning.
Exactly.
He says, look, I don't even know if these children are mine. Mm-hmm. I need to do DNA to establish that they are truly mine because I don't, such situations. We have even seen situations where lawyers, connive with, such clients to want to throw spanners in the works.
Sure.
Just to, avoid responsibility. Mm-hmm. And that's why the Court of Appeal had said, look, we will not, aid that invasion that you want to commit, asking us to order a DNA test. These children, you have established the fact that you are married. Mm-hmm. And these children were born during in fact, there is no Supreme Court decision on it, but the Court of Appeal had pronounced on it. Even Rose Vival recently, not too long ago, also made a pronouncement on it, that there is no need for the court to insist or order a paternity test. Once you establish the fact that you are married, except you can establish in court that the woman was so wayward.
Exactly.
It was so wayward that you cannot be said. It was so obvious that you cannot be said to be the father of those children. Even at that, the court had also, because promiscuity is a very difficult thing to prove. How do you establish, maybe with technology these days, you now, ensure that you record the video record,
exactly.
What happened. But even at that, the court had not, shifted from its original position of presuming that the child is the child of the man once there's marriage. Even when that child is born 250 to 300 days after separation.
Interesting. After
separation, the court still presumes that child. So for the woman here, that's why I said in divorce cases here, the woman is at the receiving end, because our laws here, we obey them in breach, where the court will grant an order. There is no way to enforce such order. And so the man will just, vanish into thin air. Unlike in other societies where wherever you work, once your name is entered into the database and there is a court judgment against you and you are supposed to pay alimony or you are paying upkeep, they deduct from source. But here, when the woman can't find you and the court can't find you, what would they do? So that's why some women, when they are pushed to the wall, they either insist, okay, let's to prove my innocence, to establish that my integrity, let's do paternity test. But for me, I always advise women not to be pushed. If you are the alternative, if you know yourself, if you know that truly the man is just trying to be shifty, look for alternative. Alternative means, having to now be father and mother and take care of these children on your own. Try and, we have in this part of the world, luckily for us, we have a support system, family, relations, friends and the rest. Yeah. So once you have all of that support system, someday you'll be fine.
All right.
Don't ever allow yourself to be pushed to that, stage. But because a man can be shifted. There are cases where the woman intentionally tells the man, you are not the father of these children. She also wanted to be shifted.
Yeah.
And then the man started running berserk. And look, I am their father. These are my children. They look like me. They are my children. Because the man wanted to, deprive the woman of access to those children. And so he took away the children and, intentionally tried to deny the woman access. And the woman said, well, what even gave you the guarantee that these children are yours? I had them for somebody else, and so we are dragging them. So there are also cases like that. The woman also can be
That's a very dangerous one, I must say. But listening to you, I cannot help but ask, because I know that death and inheritance, as we have seen in the cases of the late MK Abiola, who was allegedly to have fathered 113 children. So for wealthy families with similar stories, should DNA tests be legalized as a means of resolving inheritance issues and disputes in the law?
Yeah, most times what like the case of Abiola, what he did was to ensure that for you to inherit, you must go through a DNA test to establish that is truly the father of the child. And so I also in similar cases, most especially when you know that you're a man with large appetites, and then that you don't have much, there'll be likelihood of dispute and crisis when you live. So you would not want to create crisis for your biological children. So you state it in your will that every child that is said to be yours, it must go through a DNA test. Most especially when the women are many. But also, if you also notice in Abiola's case, he exempted some. The children for that the first wife had for him. He exempted all of those ones. And so, but every other one, he said they should go through. But if there is no will, then there is a problem.
All right. This might be my last question to you because of time. Just as I've asked the medical consultants on the show, we've seen the real victims of paternity fraud are the children and not even the men who were defrauded or who were frauded, so to speak. Are the women or the mothers in these cases liable to be sued for this fraud by the children? If I may ask.
Not in Nigeria.
Oh, gosh.
Not in Nigeria.
We need to amend our...
Not in Nigeria. That's why I say...
We need to amend our laws.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that cannot be done.
Okay.
Like over here, the presumption that once you marry a woman, you right to sex, it's presumed. But in other society, a man can be said to rape his wife. So in the same vein here, once because the law already presume that once there is marriage, the children belongs to the man. So you can now sue, even when you go out to establish, you now say you were defrauded. And I wonder how the court will look at it. But yet, like everything new, we can just use that to test our legal jurisprudence and see how far it will go. But I don't think anybody haven't suffered, through that psychological trauma of discovering years later that children are not yours, would want to go through that, pain again of going to court. I want to sue the woman, because of the support system too. Your family will say, you know what, you need to start afresh, just walk away, and, So there is no case, but except maybe when I leave here, another new one will come.
All right. It's indirectly having a new case. Let me give you 30 minutes open mic. What are your submission, or what do you have to say to the public who are listening to you?
Yes,
being a social activist and all.
Yeah, on this issue, I've had cause to advocate on it at various fora. We started, couples start with communication, and communication is very key in marriages. For the fact also that a woman is independent does not make her a prostitute. Men should understand that. A lot of men sometimes are frightened or threatened by the success of their women. I quickly give you a story where it was alleged that his friends told him that his wife was using his lock. And the man said, look, for 30 years I had the lock and I couldn't do anything with it. Now that somebody is using it and I can drive big cars, let her continue to use it. I think that should be the attitude. Once there's communication, you make your partner your friend, and you can tell each other anything. You can, like they say, if you can laugh at it, you can live with it. Once you do that, no matter how bad it is, you'll be able to talk about it and walk through it. All
right. Thank you. If you can laugh at it, you can live with it. Thank you so much, Liborous, for that. You've always been a resourceful person and to the society or the social and civil matters. Your contribution and impact to society is greatly appreciated, and I'm sure it will stand as a legacy forever for you. Thank you so much again for spending part of your evening with
Always
me
my pleasure.
today. The honor is ours in the studio, isn't it? Because I can see a lot of people connecting with you and all of that. Thank me later for bringing him into the studio. All right, for our closing remarks, courtesy Omoluabi personality from Goldberg is the subject of paternity echoes into our morality, integrity, religiosity, and our societal standards. And I would say that, whether a man or a woman, let's keep our integrity and morality intact to avoid issues that can disrupt the very stability and peaceful existence of the family setting and society at large. Till I come your way next week, my name remains Kike Lomatondao, and you have been on Real Talk with Kike. Bye now.